Attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true.
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters. It is a Geordies here, Geordies there special. Hope you're enjoying the festive period. This is a pre-recorded show so we could all have some time off over Christmas. And we decided for a bit of fun to have a look at the lads' favourite strips, home and away. We've called it Top 10 Strips. What we might do is we'll stick a little vote on Facebook and maybe on the chat below, and you can just have a vote as to which one is your favourite that we'll feature tonight. But without further ado, Mitch, we will go to you. You've sent in a few photographs, particular photographs. We'll start with this one, Mitch. Who's that young lad?
That's a very young me.
Hey, look at the pose. Panini football sticker pose at his best.
Actually, probably my favourite picture of me. And it's funny, you know, we talk about strips, and for me, the strips are always associated with different periods of support for the team. We've had good times, bad times, and different times. And every time I think about what my favourite strip is, I keep coming back to that one. I think, if I remember right, that was my first full strip.
Yes, it was.
And it's why I never get into the debate about whether we should have white socks or black socks, because I actually prefer that. And I like the white socks with that. I think they look bloody smart. But it's one of these ones. There seems to be a desire to overcomplicate strips at the moment. And it's mad how many times designers seem to get black and white stripes wrong. Or red and white stripes, for that matter. You know, God, Sunderland have had some stinkers. And I look at them sometimes and think, God, it's a good job that's on black and white. I would hate that. So for me, just simply because it's attached to that picture and all the good memories associated with it and of that time, and growing up and understanding, following the team and getting all behind it and getting excited for having a full strip, that is still takes some beating for me in terms of a home strip. I love it.
Itchy is what I remember about that Buckter strip. Itchy. But yeah, I can see why you like it. Yeah. Weren't the greatest of materials. Okay, the next strip that you picked up, you sent us a photograph actually of an infamous goal in this, but it's this one.
Yeah. And again,
why do you like this one, mate?
Times that away road, that start of the season under Keegan where we went 10 unbeaten. That Liam O'Brien goal. That season wearing that as our away strip. What we would often call the cheese and onion, because whenever Walker's took the heinous crime of turning cheese and onion from green and yellow to blue, the cheese and onion will forever be green and yellow for me, and so that will forever be the cheese and onion strip. Thank you very much. And attached to so many good memories as we started to rise again under Keegan, and so many good away trips and so many players who were kind of, you know, my era players wearing that away strip. And I think, you know, if you go back to when we had the Brazil coloured one in the 70s, and then we had that one, and we had the green alls, green and yellow stripes. There's something about green and yellow as an away kit for Newcastle United that I would always love for us to revisit in some way, shape or form. Although nowadays, obviously, it's going to be green and white, I suppose. But for me, as an away kit, green and yellow just speaks Newcastle United away.
Last, but by no means least, Mitch, you submitted this one, and tell us a bit about this strip and a bit about the photograph.
That's my Uncle Jim, me mum's brother. When you hear some of my dad's stories, Jim's involved with most of them as well, somewhere down the line. Usually the more mischievous kid as part of them, to be fair. And I had a feeling we'd talk about the Grandad colour home kit somewhere down the line. And that was a very close second for me. Again, because of the time and the era and who it was associated with and the players associated with it. It'll forever be an absolute design classic for me. Unlike my Uncle Jim's Hawaiian t-shirt, but we'll not talk about that.
Fantastic. If you had to pick one of those, Mitch, which would be your favourite?
The book at home. Every time.
Great stuff. All right. Thanks for sharing those personal photographs with me. On to Mitch Senior. George, we'll go for the home top first, mate. And no surprise, I guess, to see you again. You're going for the one that Peter Beardsley is wearing there.
Yeah. A difficult one for me because sentimentally, I actually really like the stripes that I used to wear when I first went to the club. The shirt with the collar and the long sleeves. The only trouble was it was so uncomfortable and so heavy. And when it got wet, it really was, it ached to wear. What used to go with the old strip was, of course, everybody used to say, "Oh, we're wearing the silk shorts," because the shorts were nice and shiny. When the weren't silk at all, they were bloody satin. Same thing. As soon as they got wet, it was like wearing a tea towel around your middle. It was awful. So that's what took us away from that. And then when I looked at the modern strips, the new strips, this is the one I always liked. The Grandad one is the one I always liked. And indeed, I think part of that might be because I always liked seeing the fella next to us in it when he was younger. So yeah, that's why I chose the Grandad strip, and I thought the team looked good in it as well. It stood out amongst all the various stripes around the country, including the numbers that have black and white stripes like Notts County and St Mirren and Dunfermline and so on. That Grandad colour made it stand out. It was a standalone, and so that's why I liked it. Plus, I think the brown ale sign on the front is as good an advertised and set up that you'll ever see. It's absolutely brilliant. I mean, that coming from a non-drinker, it's matterless. I do think that's a real pearler of an advertising symbol on the front of a football shirt. But that's the one I liked, and that's why I chose. But I could easily have gone for one of the very early ones. The other thing about the very early ones that I used, that the stripes on those were just the right width. Because some of the modern ones, the stripes are all sorts of widths, and they don't look right to me. But the Grandad one did. That looked all right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of the most popular strips I think that we've ever had. Your away strip, I've got to be honest, quite surprised us, George, but you went for this one.
Well, it shouldn't surprise you. I mean, at the time, all that was good about football, as far as I was concerned, was Brazil, and that was pretty near to what Brazil were wearing at the time, and I just thought we looked good in it, you know. I think I was sort of caught up in the Don Revie moment because you remember Leeds suddenly became the Lily Whites. Well, that was because of Don Revie. He decided that if he made the team look like Real Madrid on the pitch, they might play like Real Madrid. And whether it worked or not, I don't know, but they certainly didn't do badly. And I just thought that that made us just look that much smarter and that much slicker than other strips we had. So that's why I like that one. I did like the one that Neil had, and some of the other ones like that, of course, because there've been some incredible games that we've seen with that. I mean, I'm thinking of the playoff match at Joker Park, Neil, when I mean, we weren't even supposed to be in there, and here we are sitting in the clock stand, and the goal goes in, and a certain person to my left suddenly shoots up with his hand in the air. Well, the whole of the bloody clock stand knew who we were and where we were from, but we got out all right. They took it in good part, but that was another green and yellow strip, which was worth doing. But that happened to be my favourite one, with the blue shorts and the white socks, just like Brazil, really. And I thought we looked smart in that, and it lended itself to the possibility of a nice advert on the front if they wanted to.
Replica shirts. I mean, from your perspective, did you start buying them at any point, George? I mean, it wasn't something when you were a kid. Obviously, they didn't do replica shirts then. But when they started coming out, did you think, did you start buying them?
Yes, and Neil will tell you where a number of them are. They're at Pegswood, being taken away matches by Joss, Neil's stepson, my step grandson. Was looking for shirts the first time he went away, and he said, "Oh, Daddy Mitch," that's what they call us, Daddy Mitch, and I love that. I've got to say, I love the kids calling us Daddy Mitch. And he said, "Have you got any old ones that I could try on?" So I just got a selection out of the wardrobe. I think there must have been half a dozen, Neil, or more, all different eras. And of course, they were all far too big for him when I sent them, but not now. He's grown 2 foot and out and up since I sent them, so he wears them when he goes to away games, and I'm delighted. I couldn't be happier. But yes, I used to buy the odd one, Steve, and also I got 1 or 2 gifts from various people that I know. Again, as you probably heard from Neil and his friends, that when we used to go to away matches, I was the chauffeur, and especially if we went to somewhere like Wembley, I went to a special game. It's not the first time that the lads in the back of the car have clubbed together and bought me a replica shirt commemorating the trip, with the name of the trip on the badge underneath it, and I treasured those. And Joss might have one of those actually. So yeah, I mean, yes, I did buy them and did get some, and used to like wearing them as well, which in the early days was quite unusual. I mean, now it would be a sad day if you went to town now and you didn't walk down the Dunlin Street and see dozens of bloody black white strips. Well, back those days when I was much younger, you didn't wear that kind of thing out in public. You might wear it at the match, and even then you might have a coat over the top of it. But to wear it in public, no. And they certainly wouldn't let you in restaurants and this is like that with a football shirt on. Where now it's almost evening dress now. It's so different. So yes, I did buy them, Steve, and I enjoy the memories that they bring. And as I say, I was delighted to pass them on to somebody who, in Joss, who obviously appreciates them, because I see him. He usually, when he's on his way to an away match, he's on the bus, and I invariably get a picture of them all on the bus. And there's Joss, and I can pick him out by which shirt he's got on. So I'm thrilled that he's getting something out of the football in the same way that Neil and I did. So
at least he didn't get the pictures I get. Bloody hell!
No, well, he obviously very careful with his editing, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, I mean, so yeah, from George, Daddy Mitch, whatever they want to call us, I enjoy the fact that they use the strips I used to wear.
Yeah, fantastic, great stuff. All right, thanks for sharing them, George. Steve Wilkinson. We'll go on to your first strip. We're going to pick the away strip first, mate.
Right. Well, it's a similar choice in some ways to George, other than the era, because this is the shirt, and in some ways it was the combination of the shirt and the shorts. The Brazil that were worn in 73, 74. It doesn't have that horrible Wonga on the front that George's shirt did, which is the thing in those days. You didn't have sponsors. That's one of the reasons I picked it. It's the memory of the days when you didn't have the sponsor's name on the front, which in some ways, if it looks right, as we've said already on the brown ale and the one that I've got on tonight, it looks right, the sort of combination. But there are times when it doesn't work. And we certainly saw that last season when the Fun 88 turned us into having a number 4 in the front. With it just didn't look right. But that whole strip of the and we had various combinations over a couple of seasons in the mid 70s. But the particular one I remember was that one, the performance that they put on at West Brom in the Cup in March of that year before we went to the final. That dominating performance by Jimmy Smith and a couple of goals by Supermac with that shirt and the blue shorts, the Brazil of the time. Was the one I chose as the away. I did actually like, and it was a close second, was the hoops that went with the the Grandad shirt in the mid 90s. But I wasn't fussy on the shorts then. They were a sort of khaki-ish colour, and that was one of the reasons I didn't choose that as my favourite. But I did like the blue and red hoop shirts of that time.
Okay, the home top. Comes no surprise.
I'm modelling it before you, but as George said before, the stripes are supposed to be the same. But when you've got a figure like mine, some of them stretch, so that the black on this might show up as a bit thicker in some of the areas. And it gave me a chance to wear this, because I certainly cannot wear it at the match where my whole figure is shown, because there's a big gap at the bottom. So I can only wear it where you're seeing the top half as we've got tonight on the show. But this is a replica going back just a couple of years, and not exactly the replica, because as was shown on the picture of Peter Beardsley that when George talked about it before, it doesn't have the stripes on the sleeves. As you can see, this one's just got a solid black, but the rest of it and the collar was the good. The fabric was certainly in this one again is not like it was in the in those shirts of the mid 90s. The fabric was a good fabric there. It was solid. The badge was securely fitted to the front. We had a few strips. I think was it the Greenhalls or the NTL or something, where the logo started dropping off in some of the shirts. But it was a good fabric at that time on the replica shirts, and obviously it was at a time when we had a very successful era. So there's other reasons to like that shirt. You know, I certainly agree with George. Having equal width stripes, you can see there that there's a on this side there's a bigger scap there than there is lower down. So it certainly isn't a good representation of how it should be worn. But you know, it's I'm in favour of the sort of more traditional. There's one of the teams, I forget which one it is, that's got red and white stripes, and it's like zigzags. The red. I can't remember who it is now. I'm sure it might be who else is Brentford, isn't it? The wear stripes. I'm not sure who it is, but one of the teams that wears red and white. It's an awful red and white stripe, and I've always feared. I thought Ashley would change it. I thought it would be doing a Southampton and have a. I mean, there's red and white stripes is only got one stripe, I think, isn't it now? You know, it's predominantly white on the back. Now, I always sensed Ashley would make that change over the years. So gladly we got rid of him before he did. But I always sensed him would go to a more solid black and white somehow, and we wouldn't see stripes at all. But fortunately, we've stuck with it, and long may it continue to be a team, a colour that we can be proud of as the years go ahead. We haven't had a Premier League winner for black and white for a long time, ever, in fact, as far as the Premier League's concerned. So hopefully that's not too far in the distant future.
Yeah, I genuinely thought that Mike Ashley would make it red, white, and blue and put sports.
Well, that was the other fear. Yes.
Genuinely thought he would do something as poisonous as that. But thank the Lord, he's gone. We don't have to worry about that. Stu, on to you, mate, and let's go with your home top first.
Yeah, I nearly chose the one that Mitch picked or the one that Keegan made for his debut. I think it's simplistic, just the black and white stripes. But to me, the blue star makes the Newcastle strip, if that makes sense.
It does.
It makes it Newcastle, you know, and it gives you that homely feeling to it. And like a lot of us were swayed in our choices with why we're picking certain strips in that era when we're wearing that strip. You just think, when you see that strip, you think of Andy Cole, you think of Beardsley. I think of Paul Bracewell when I see that strip as well. And you start thinking, well, Cole and Beardsley was my favourite ever partnership up front for Newcastle. It was my favourite ever season, the first season we got promoted back in '93. and for so many reasons. It was probably the first time a generation of supporters felt proud, and rightly so proud, wearing the stripes outside of Newcastle. And if you remember going to the away games then, there was more and more people started wearing the strips where previously there hadn't been. And to me, it was like a uniform. And I just loved it, how simple it was. There's no, like, as we've just discussed there, no dodgy designs on it. You've got your black and white stripes, you've got the blue star on it, you've got a bit of blue on the collar to reflect the blue star, and that was it. And the people that were wearing it at that time made the team. To me, that by a long stretch was the best strip. And just to be a little bit controversial, the Grandad collar that's so much revered, I never liked it. I think it's because it replaced these sort of strips, and I didn't like their Grandad collar. I thought the brown ale badge on it was too big and it didn't look good. But that was just my opinion. And again, the material that you mentioned at the start, Steve, the material looked like it was that itchy stuff from the Buckner strips of the old Umbro ones. I know it wasn't, but it looked like it, didn't it? It felt like it. But that strip there, for me, that home top, to me, it's always iconic. But like Steve Wilkinson just said, if we all try to wear those strips that we wore back in the day, it would all look like hotshot Amish, wouldn't we? Just round the belly button. So that was definitely my choice for a home strip. It was the first one that cut me head, and I think the only one that ever got close to it was, well, the two that got close to it was the ones from a decade before. Like I said, the one that Mitch wore, and then the one that followed that to keep the one that Keegan wore with the blue stars. Exactly the same as Mitch's, but it had the blue star on. So that was my choice by a long way. Okay, your away strip? I chose that the same as George, and for many similar reasons. Well, it wasn't for the Wonga, obviously, but when you start watching football and you get into it as a child, and the World Cup which is on now, it was such a great event. It was a huge build up for it. I know this year is a bit different, where it's just been thrown into the middle of the season. But in the 80s, there was only 2 World Cup in the 80s, but there was a team of the 80s. I think everyone will remember that they played in yellow shirt and blue shorts, and they never won the World Cup. And that absolutely exceptional 2 or 3 teams, cycles of teams throughout the 80s. And I still can't believe Scotland didn't win the World Cup, because that was their away shirt, yellow with blue shorts. Or I might have been talking about the Zico and Falcao and Adair and all that from 1982, because that has to be the best that team that never won the World Cup. I don't think there's another team that come close to it that hadn't won the World Cup than that team. But it's the yellow, blue and white. It does, as George said, it symbolises what football, or the quality of football, is all about. Now, we've never had a team to match that. Well, we did have in the mid-90s, but only, you see, in the last 50 years, we've never had a team to match it. Hopefully there's one coming soon. And I'd be surprised if whoever's our kit maker next season doesn't have the yellow shirt, blue shorts and white socks, because we have at least 2 or 3 Brazilians. We've got Isaac and Kraft that are Swedish that wear the same colours, and I think it'll be a very, very popular strip. So they're either, to me, we'll be wearing the yellow again next season, unless they go for an all-out 2 fingers up and just have a pure green strip for an away shirt. But I just think it'll be yellow, blue, and white. I think from a commercial aspect and from a marketing point of view, it's an easy choice. But that strip, to me, it was fresh. I remember buying it for my son, and he wore it with pride before he switched allegiances to Tottenham. And I remember I was in Tenerife with him, and we won at Man United. And I think he must have only been about 6 at the time. And he was standing up on the chairs in the bar, and when someone was crying, one of the Man United fans were crying, and it panned onto the, when the camera pans onto the fans, and he was giggling and laughing. And it's the first time I seen him stick his 2 fingers up at the TV screen as well, which he got clipped for. But at the same time, it was one of those dad proud moments, or proud dad moments. You're thinking, come on, son. That was quite funny, because it was when they were crying after Kabay had scored the winner.
We've all had them, Steve.
Yeah.
We've all had them.
Yeah. I'll be called Stu for the rest of the night, though, George. But
Oh, sorry, Stu.
But to me, you think of Brazil, and I think every generation, whether it's the 70s, 80s, 90s, or even now, you know, it's an iconic team with an iconic strip, and it's great that we do wear it occasionally. And I really hope we get the yellow, blue, and white next season as well. That's why I chose that one. One that I nearly chose, and it was really for nostalgia, was the first away strip I got. And I bought it in Monument Sports for £18, and that was the silver strip with the black pinstripes. That was my first away strip, and I thought that was a magnificent strip, and I was really upset when they changed it, even though it was just still to another like silvery grey strip. But remember that then I had brought the one after it, the black and white band across it. But the silver pinstripe with the black pinstripes, that's an iconic Newcastle top as well. But to me, the yellow and blue one wins hands down.
Okay, interesting to hear your thoughts. I've picked mine. My first one is this one. No surprise, the Blue Star is on it. Black and white top, Umbro, one of my favourite kit makers, I've got to be honest. And the NUFC badge, as it should be, in grey, with the little magpie underneath the C. That was the first strip that I saw Newcastle playing. First strip that I was proud enough to get a hold of. And the away strip will be no surprise to you either, because it's this one.
Yeah. Brilliant. It's brilliant, isn't it?
That is my favourite two strips, 100%. The Grandad collar one, I get why there's sentiment around it and the whole period that we were playing in at those times. But you can't get past that Keegan era as a player for me with Waddle and Beardsley. It was just a fantastic time to be a Newcastle fan, a wonderful attacking forward line after, years in the doldrums. But those strips were just so simple but effective. And the Blue Star in the middle of, both of those strips symbolized what the Northeast was about, Newcastle brown ale, the beer, the smell of the hops in the brewery as you walked up to St. James's Park, and then ultimately the football that they were serving up at St. James's Park at the time. And Arthur Cox had the lads on fire. But those two strips are synonymous, with my memories of Newcastle United. I'm sure that a lot of you out there can think of. Stu's just mentioned it as well. Those were the days for me, and that team is always going to be like my favorite team, I guess, because it was my first. So those are my two selections. Al Walid, although he's not on the show.
Steve, can I just ask about your home top? It reminded us. It was the same for the stripes as well, but the NUFC sign, it was suede, which was different as well.
Yeah,
it was felt, wasn't it? And normally the badges were embroidered, and that was felt. So again, it was us being different, and it was Newcastle. Just remember when I seen it on there that it was felt. I forgot about it on the away top.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, nobody selected the Green Oils one. I'm not going to spoil anyone's further selections because Steve Hastie's put his in as well. But the Green Oils strip. I mean, that's the only strip that I can think of in memory where you actually had to stitch on the badge, the Green Oils logo. And I mean,
in the change mid-season, wasn't there a change?
Went back to the Blue Star mid-season.
That's right.
An iron-on patch.
That's right. I mean, the Green Oils patch that I had across the middle was horrendous. And my mum, bless her, tried to stitch it, but she stitched it and it was at a slight angle, which of course when any Newcastle fan or football fan will sympathise. When you get that top, the first click or the first mark on it, it's an absolute nightmare. So you can imagine me giving my mum this Green Oils logo to stitch on, and she gives us it, and I'm looking at it going, it's at an angle. It's at an angle. Oh God, it was the end of the world. That absolute end of the world. But yeah, you're right. The suede badge.
Strips that click, that the away strip, the blue one that went with Stu's home kit selection.
The 6 one.
That was an absolute nightmare. You'd put a seatbelt on in the car and you'd take the seatbelt off and you'd have diagonal clicks all the way down the bloody strip. I don't know what they did with the material on that one, but it was bloody awful.
Yeah, no, I remember that. Yeah, I mean, you know, some of these strips which are made, you know, there's clearly just not a great deal of thought goes into them. Other times, you know, they're fantastic. I think again that's why the ones that I've picked and the ones, you know, a couple of you guys have picked, the you know, the 95, 97 Grandad collar one were so popular because they were good quality, and you know, some people have still got the original one today. Anyway, Al Walid.
Sorry, Steve.
I'll get Al Walid eventually.
Your story about what your mum did just triggered a memory for me from the old-fashioned strips that I used to wear. In those days, there was a big boiler room in the old stand as part of the boot room, and where any conversation, any gossip going on, that's where it happened. But also, that's where the strips were washed and ironed in those days. So they had, you know, women doing that. Well, there was one weekend when the boiler was off and the women didn't want to wash the strips. So the coaches were all told, the various teams, ask the lads to take the strips home and get them washed and bring them back to training on Tuesday night. Now, as I said to you, you used to have to roll your sleeves up because they had big, long sleeves. And it was a nightmare. They were really heavy when they got wet. Well, a lad I used to play with, Charlie Appleby, he could still be alive because he's the same age as me. But never mind. Sorry, Charlie. Charlie, like all of us, took his strip home and gave it to his mother to wash. And on his way out somewhere, he'd said to her, they're great strips, but I wish they were short sleeves instead of long sleeves. Well, unbeknown to him, while he was out, his mother got the sewing machine out and made it a short sleeve one. So when he went back to training on the Tuesday night, he had to go to the coach and say, "Well, there's my nice clean strip, but it's got nice sleeves." My mother cut them off. Fortunately, brilliant. Everybody took it as a big joke, but it could have been disastrous. I hope it didn't affect his career, though, because Charlie I think he went to Burnley shortly after that.
Brilliant stuff. Okay, Al Walid picked this one for his home top. The 1999-2000 top. I'm not really too fond of that one. I've got to be perfectly honest. Like, I mean, it's got the brown ale in the middle. I just didn't like the tinge of blue on the colours. I thought it looked chatty. Don't know what you guys thought about that one, but no surprise. On the collar looks all right
around the edges on the sleeves. I think that's what I didn't like it.
This was Al Walid's second choice. No surprise. But yeah, I mean, we'll have a chat about the first one. I mean, was that the days of Duncan Ferguson and I don't know. Yeah, it was.
I just think Kieran Dyer.
Yeah,
say that again, Mitch. Sorry, mate. You and Stu were talking at the same time. Say that again, mate.
Yeah, I look at that shirt and I just think Kieran Dyer.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
That just turns me off instantly.
Yeah, George, your thoughts on that one?
Like you, I'm wondering why the blue's there. You know, it's creative, but in a negative sense, for me, it would be much better just left as it was.
Steve, were you a fan of that one?
Yeah. Well, I like the collar because I think we said earlier on the little bit blue on the collar matched the badge, but you know, the blue star on the badge. But I think it looks as though it's sort of extra seams on the bottom and on the sleeves just to sort of stop it fraying type of thing. It doesn't seem to go there.
And Stu, what's your thoughts on that one?
Well, when you put it on, it's the same as you. I thought Duncan Ferguson or Gary Speed straight away. But again, it's not if I'm against brown ale, but I think the badge spoils it. The brown ale badge spoils it too much. Without that smaller badge, smaller sponsor, it might have looked better. But it's too much blue. You know, I know I was praising the blue before, but there was only a touch of blue in the shirt art shows. I think there's too much there. But more again, you start thinking, right, that's the shirt that got us to Wembley as well. But it'll always be, to me, it'd be synonymous with the fact that it was Rudd Hullett's era. And that's why people can't really get that much affection to it. Because it was his season.
I would agree, yeah. I would agree. Okay, last but by no means least, Mr. Hasty has submitted his shirt. And here is the first one, his home top. Now, that is controversial for me. And I wish Steve was here to defend himself. That's awful.
Oh, good.
I can't stand it.
No.
I honestly, that was that brings back so many memories of probably my first negativity towards the football club. That, you know, the first time I felt as I was at loggerheads with the club. I thought, how dare they mess with the stripes? I just couldn't believe it. And I was still coming around to the thinking about the badge being changed. You know, that's how set in my ways I was as a youngster. The blue star's not done properly either. It's got some kind of weird pattern in the middle of it.
The whole strip,
and
isn't it? There's like a mottle on the whole strip as well.
Oh dear me, I just didn't like that one at all. I mean,
Steve, give a reason why he's picked that one, or is he just taking the piss?
No, he's definitely not taking the Michael. He sent that in. He sent that in as a genuine. He clearly liked that strip. I think, you know, what we'll do is we'll have a Geordie Inquisition after Christmas about why he picked that strip. I'm going to keep that on hold. But Mitch, am I just complaining too much about that one? Or?
See, I actually, that would have been my third choice.
Wow.
Oh, no.
Because I think as a club, we're actually often not afraid to be quite innovative, borderline controversial with kit choices. Like, for example, if I was to pick another away kit, I would pick the yellow and yellow striped away kit from Houghton's Championship season, which I love to hate.
Corporation Transport.
That's mainly, I didn't mind that.
Mainly because of what it was associated with. Home and away all season, coming back up to the Premiership, the togetherness that Houghton found with the squad, and it was a strip everybody hated and then came to love. And same with that one. When it was released, it was mind blowing. You think about the era that was released in. That was probably Umbro's cutting edge design choice, and it was brave of the club to go with it. The trouble is, I look at it and think, sort of like you, I've got many negative associations with that shirt and the team that played in that shirt. Ironically, then I go with the away shirt from the next era. So just a little jump, and then you're into something different, and that's how quickly football can change. But I don't think we've ever been frightened to try something different with strips, and that certainly was different.
George, were you a fan?
No. I mean, as you heard me at the start, it was the old-fashioned, really nicely set up stripes that was always my attraction, and would always be so. However, I have to say that I was still a player in 1961 when the manager, called Charlie Mitten, designed a new strip, and I think I've shown it to you on different platforms. That's the one where it was the Continental V-neck. We kept the nice stripes and short sleeves, but the shorts were had a white band around the waist and white bands around the bottom of the shorts, and the socks were white with a turnover which was black and white stripes. Now, I can tell you, the turnover on the black and white stripes was put together as an afterthought. And of course, it left a nasty hem. So when you turned the socks over to put your tires on, you used to get absolute pain off the ridge where the stripes joined the white onto it. So no, we've been inventing strips for a long time, Neil. You're absolutely right. But that was 1961, and while the shirt was all right, but the rest of it was absolutely awful to wear. Absolutely awful to wear. Yeah, so no, okay. I wouldn't have that one.
Steve, what about you?
No, I'm not a great fan of that one. I like the number of stripes in the front. I think I like a sort of 3 and 3. I mean, this one that I've got on now was probably too broad, as is the one that we currently wear. But I think, you know, the one side of that it's got too many stripes, too narrow, and the other one's too wide. But I think some of the strips, I think you usually get about 3 white and 3 black as about the best ones, or maybe it's 4 black and 3 white. That's about the width where, you know, they even out better, I think. But I didn't like that sort of barcode almost style. And I don't know, that wasn't the one that had the shield on the back as well. That made it even worse. I didn't like that shirt.
No,
The shield on the back. That was an awful one.
No.
Yeah, that was another Adidas monstrosity with a horrible collar.
All right, Stu, what's your thoughts on this monstrosity?
Well, I'm with you on that, Steve. It's not the traditional black and white stripes, is it? I can understand why they went with it, but it just gives. I think that one gave us the name of the barcode army, didn't it? At the time. You know, the strip before that was the Mirandina, the one he used to wear at home with green O's across. Now that top itself, to me, was, I don't know if you can get a caption of it, but that was probably, that might have won the best top award. It had the blue star on it, the one that had green O's across, because it was just straight black and white stripes. But that one, which I was really happy wearing, and then this one come out, I was like, you're joking. You just thought it was a mistake now when you went there, because it was a big buzz, wasn't it, when the strips used to come out, and you used to dash through the shops as quick as you could to get them. And then you see this and you think, well, what's that? And I just didn't think it was nice. I can see now, looking back, it was thinking out the box, etc. You've got the thick stripes, the thin stripes, then the sleeves alternate as well. But that's not Newcastle. Newcastle's plain black and white stripes for me.
Little trivia question for you lads.
Yeah.
The team played in that shirt other than us, but they wore it with red shorts, would you believe? Is their away kit?
Wow.
It was Derby County.
Sure.
Ah, right.
If
Okay.
you thought it looked bad on us, look up at Derby County away with that top. I'm sure they wore with red shorts, and it was just horrible.
Not good.
All right. Well, Steve Hasty, we went in on that one. Let's see what you think of his away strip. Stu, I'm going to give you the first digs on this one. Looks like it's hanging in his bathroom.
Just like.
No.
What do you make of that, Stu?
No, I don't like that top. It's around about that era. I remember we had a golden colour with black away shirt that we wore in Europe. I liked that one, but that to me was more like a trading top. It was trying to be too snazzy, and there's too much on the shirt, isn't it? With all the lines and everything else. Don't like that. No, Mr. Hasty's choice of strips to my liking this evening. I'll apologise to him when I see him for the harsh words, but he should have been on to defend himself. No, I don't like that one. Don't like that at all.
Nah, again, I wasn't a fan of the Adidas range. I've got to be honest. The later range, anyway. The away tops just seem to get more and more bizarre. Maybe when we come to Mitch, he can say, "Well, we're never afraid to try." Well, I can't even say the word. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, ultimately for me, that's one experiment too far. Steve, your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I just don't like the dark blue pattern on it. It just looks like you've dropped a tin of paint and it's sort of landed there, and I just don't like it. I prefer, well, I wouldn't say plain colours, but I think we went for a similar blue as the training top that we wore. Was it Tottenham game? I think we had to find a fourth strip this year.
Brighton.
Was it Brighton? Was it? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Brighton one with the stripes all clashed. But it had a sort of subtle pattern, but it was a pattern. It was a time bridges and things like that. So it was a similar colour, but with a logical pattern. But that, as I say, is just like somebody's spilled some blue paint and it's landed, and we'll say, okay, we'll go with that. Don't like that one.
No, George. I mean, I just couldn't. It's just a weird colour, but I agree. It's that kind of pattern around the Northern Rock.
Well, it's an attempt to do something abstract. I'm sure there might be a meaning to it, but it's a step too far for me. And I'm not entirely on side with even the colour, to be honest. If we're going to have a blue, let's have a blue. And that's neither one thing or the other. It's almost Manchester City blue, and I don't want nothing to do with them. No, just a step too far for me, Steve.
Chuck it in the bin, Mitch. Chuck it in the bin.
Picking something that colour, you should be sent to Coventry, shouldn't you, really? I think the problem with that kit and why...
No such team.
For me, the problem with that kit and why it doesn't speak to it is it's a template kit. That's an Adidas template kit, and you'll find other clubs in their second and third kits with a similar pattern from a similar era, just with a different colour. And at that time, Adidas, I think, were picking colours that... I think what they did was they sent people out to run through people's washing lines and see what colours they came back with to select their colours, you know. It was like they really did go out on a limb to pick some unusual combinations. I tell you who would be a good person to get on, have a chat with about kits is a guy called Craig Douglas, who you'll see me speaking to him on Twitter sometimes. Geordie lad, and I think he designed Brazil's World Cup kit from '94. And he's a kit designer, and he's got quite a lot of opinions on templates and why sometimes they're good and sometimes they're bad. And that's when a template goes bad. It doesn't speak to you. It doesn't really say anything about the club. The colours really don't relate to anything about the club. They've not come out and gone, oh, right, we could pick up this from the badge and use this in the third kit or what have you. They've just gone, oh, we've got some light blue fabric in the corner we need to use up. Let's make that the third kit. There we go, that'll take. And so Craig probably would have quite some opinions on some of the kits that we've picked and talked about tonight. Probably a show in itself for you there, Steve.
Yeah, but, definitely.
But yeah, I think that's the problem with it. It's a template. Stu hit the nail on the head. I think that was the European shirt the season after the yellow and the gold and black one that you referred to. And Adidas just seemed to be picking a template and stamping them across teams and putting random colours on. There was no attempt to make that shirt connect to the fans. The ones that the fans go for, they speak to it in some reason. And they get the colour combinations right, and they pick up on something that says, this is a Newcastle United shirt. That's why you when people say, oh, we want Adidas back, we want this one back, I think Adidas have done some horrendous kits in the last few years. That shirt they did for the Mackems that looked like a pick and mix bag, good God, that was just horrendous. Again, wouldn't want that in black and white stripes. They put Juventus in black and white halves. And I know that was aimed at the American market because Americans still see black and white stripes as a referee's kit. But they've made some curious decisions. Nike don't always get it right. Sometimes they absolutely nail it. And I think we, as a fan base, we'll buy shirts that speak to you in some way. Now you look at it and you say, yeah, that's a Newcastle United strip. So again, I'd be curious to hear Steve's reasoning why he likes that one in particular. Whether he just has a thing about sky blue, maybe I should give him this T-shirt. Who knows? But it doesn't particularly speak to me.
No, definitely not. Okay, well, listen, that was just for fun. We'll put a little vote up for you to participate in. Give us your views as to which one you like. Just a reminder, we had the Buckter top, we had the Liam O'Brien shirt, we had the old Asics top. We've had a couple of shouts out for the yellow Wonga shirt. Al Walid submitted the relatively new green and white Saudi number. We had the old Gary Speed, Duncan Ferguson et al. 1999-2000 top. I chucked in the 83-84 promotion season with a home and away. Steve Hasty showed that he needs a new pair of glasses with these two submissions. And Steve Wilkinson went for another Brazilian type, but without the logos. Nice little top there. That one designed by Toffs. And the Grandad collar featured not once, not twice, but 3 times tonight. So some interesting choices. As I say, it was just for fun, something for the festive period. But I want to thank the lads who didn't manage to make the show for submitting. Thanks to Mitch, to George, to Steve, and to Stu. Plenty of pre-recorded shows over Christmas. Keep an eye out. One a night over the festive period. I'm going to play out with the adverts. And because I've recorded this so early, there is an event on here which has already been. So please don't go and try buy tickets for it. Thanks, lads. Take care. Good night.
Good night,
Good night, everybody.
A big thanks to all of our sponsors, starting off with Skips and Bins. Telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. The website is www.skipsandbins.com. Easy, contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks also to Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD hemp and cannabinoid specialists. Find them at thegohd.com. Thanks also to 3 Properties, and they specialise in sourcing investment properties for their clients who are looking to invest in the Northeast. They offer a full in-house service from sourcing the deals to managing the properties for you. They've done over 100 plus deals in the past 12 months for clients all over the UK. Give them a follow on Instagram, matty.patter_northeast property and phil.reed_northeast property, or email phil@3property.co.uk if you're interested in getting a good property deal. Big thanks also to Mr. Vicky's sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can find them at mrvickys.co.uk or order some of the sauces by calling 01768 210 102 or emailing info@mrvickys.co.uk. Thanks also to Blowhole Brewery, and their cans are vast and in the shape of the old Newcastle United strips from the 1990s. Bonnie Blonde, Geordie Juice, and Fog of the Tyne. Some great beers. Get yourself to blowholebrewery.co.uk to order your cans in for the festive period. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the video side of things. And thanks to qtechshop.co.uk, makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle. If you want to subscribe to the channel, hit the subscribe button on the bottom right-hand corner. Hit the like button and click share. Please join the channel as well to support us. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast providers. If you want to join the channel, you can use this QR code or just go to nufcmatters.com and look for membership pack. If you join in that particular way, you get a scarf, a cup, a pen, and a membership card, and entry into the monthly draw. We also give you a free car sticker. All you need to do is subscribe to the show and then email John at nufcmatters.com to claim it. We also support the food bank on this channel, nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk. Go to that website and make a virtual donation today. A couple of events coming up. Paul Gascoigne is at the Fed on the 4th of December. Contact the Fed in Dunstan and Gateshead for more information. And Peter Beardsley, 20 tickets left for this, is at St. Dom's Catholic Club in Newcastle on the 10th of February next year. Contact St. Dom's via their contact details on their website or on Twitter. If you're looking for a Christmas present for a Newcastle fan, you can go to badboysbooks.net. You could order a copy of Enemy from the Bender Squad to the Gremlins, or the last remaining copies of Black or White, No Grey Areas by Lee Clark and Will Scott. If you're looking for a Christmas jumper for your night out, go to nufcmatters.com and get your Bruno jumper today.